that thumbs up button. It really aids the channel house. So, thank you so much for doing that. Diving right in the very first inquiry you need to ask yourself is just how much do you need to live a way of life where you're happy? Due to the fact that we have to work backwards from there to figure out how much you need to live off of returns. Currently, this calls for analyzing your present lifestyle. What are you investing now? On your month-to-month costs? Yet you also have to look in advance if you're single currently. However, plan to get wed. That can be a really expensive mistake. Sorry, I slid. That could be a really expensive choice. Currently, I'm just kidding. But I am a little bit serious. Since if you wed a person whose financial goals and worths are various from your own, that might mean that you're spending a great deal more cash in the future. You additionally have to consider if you're having kids and points like your real estate situation. Are you staying in a residence that you possess? Or do you have a mortgage to pay, or are you renting? And also, exactly how do you navigate? Do you have an automobile, or are you staying in a city and also simply making use of public transport? And also, while you're thinking about the future, you probably have to consider costs related to wellness. So that's simply a really rate of 6.1%. Our current dividend yield is 5.6%. So if you get one share of Exxon, which is currently priced at $62, the returns is most likely to pay you 5.6% of that per year, which implies that just for owning that share, you'll possibly make about $3 as well as 47 cents annually. And I understand that does not sound like a great deal, yet please stick with me because you're visiting how this whole picture comes together, as well as how we develop this up from $3 and also 47 cents. To enough for you to live off of. And also, firms are normally paying out rewards based upon the number of shares you possess and not the present rate of each share, which is why you'll see that dividend return rise and fall. An additional point is that normally companies pay out dividends on a quarterly basis for times a year, suggesting that you will not get that $3 and 47 cents all at once. So don't go wild on me and go escaping to Starbucks. Rather, you're actually going to get that divided into quarterly repayments, about 87 cents a quarter. It's completely easy because all you had to do was buy a share of that company, as well as now you can take that cash that they have actually simply paid you to either reinvest to get more shares of that company or go acquire something much better. And also, if you're most likely to choose return supplies yourself, you additionally intend to be checking out things like exactly how safe is the returns traditionally. Has this company paid out dividends, and is it raising its returns payout to investors year over year? Exactly how cost effective is the firm? And where are those returns coming from? How appealing is the industry that the company remains in? Because of brand new technologies or trends, is it going to be around for years to come, or might it come to be outdated? As an example, Philip Morris has a reward yield of 4.92%, but is cigarettes something that you actually assume is going to be relevant 2 decades from now, or is it a passing away market? Currently allows take out the calculator to find out exactly how much you actually need to completely live off of returns. The response will, of course, rely on your lifestyle and how much you need to keep that way of life. If you're spending $30,000 a year, that's what they say very varies from a household living in San Francisco costs $200,000 a year. You may drop somewhere in between that. So what I intend to do, given that I can't guess exactly just how much you require, is just to show you a couple of potential alternatives. We are most likely to assume a 3% reward return. So if with it, you'll hear this term called DRIP, and that's a dividend reinvestment strategy which just enables financiers to reinvest their cash dividends to get even more items of the firm that the rewards just originated from. And especially if you're looking to expand your returns portfolio, this can be an actually easy hands-off method to do so. And if you're a visual individual like me, I'll simply reveal you what that in fact looks like. You have the returns payout every 3 months. After that, the same day, it obtains reinvested, and then the same thing over as well as over once more every quarter, or if you've in fact constructed with your profile and also are most likely to be living off of these returns, which is the whole factor of this video clip. Then rather than reinvesting, you can take those repayments as cash to cover your expenditures or your travel, or whatever it is that you wish to spend your cash on currently. We've been making use of Exxon as an instance, yet there are numerous other firms that pay out returns that we've all heard of, like Target, Johnson & Johnson, Pepsi, as well as AT&T. As well as if you do not intend to undergo the headache of researching as well as selecting individual dividend-paying supplies, after that you can actually have a look at a reward yield ETF. I'll link a video clip of here, right? Talk extra about what ETFs. Year throughout a 1-month duration its rate dropped 70%, and also not simply that they suspended their dividends and also said maybe years before they begin paying rewards to shareholders, once more. So the initial lesson is that returns aren't constantly ensured. A firm decides whether to pay them or otherwise, as well as they can determine that they're suspending their returns. Since high reward yield ETF looks a lot more eye-catching, best? For this particular one, the returns yield is about 2.76%. Implying that if you own one share which is around $100 and also $7, you'll make a little under $3 from it each year. But 2.76% does not appear that thrilled, right? Particularly when you see these dividend-paying firms with a much greater reward return like 6 or 7, or perhaps 8%, which brings me to my second lesson. Don't judge a book by its dividend return. If there's a stock as well as it's $100 a share, let's state they're paying out $4 each year for each share that you have. That means the dividend yield is 4%. It's just the percent that you're receiving in dollars. Well, if that business gets truly bad news, let's state there is an international pandemic, for instance, as well as the share cost plunges to $50 a share. Well, that returns yield is currently 8%, which 8% isn't always an advantage. The stock simply plunged. So greater is not. Hello men, it's Erica. As well as in this video we'll be talking all about, can you live off returns? What does that mean? As well as preferably just how much do you need to make it take place? The majority of people are most likely to follow the standard course where they work 40 years in this 9-to-5 job with the hope that they can retire. Just the thought of retiring as well as coming to be economically independent with no worries is motivating. So, they function several years, wishing that at this retirement age, in between allows claim their social safety and security and also their 401k and maybe a pension plan, that'll suffice to retire. However, what happens if we could in fact expedite that 40-year timeline through something called returns investing, which is practically one of the most passive kind of revenue you can have. Therefore that's what we're most likely to be covering in this video. If retiring early sounds like something you'd like, then what we'll cover is specifically what is reward investing. How can you make it benefit you? How much time will it require to develop your dividend portfolio? Or as well as just how much do you need to live off of rewards? And also simply, my fast disclaimer is that although I am a legal representative, I'm not yours and this isn't legal, financial or tax obligation suggestions. And also if you can promptly you considering how much you actually require to preserve a quality of life that you're happy with, since it's impossible for me to simply guess how much you need and also just toss numbers at you. But given that you are thinking about developing a life for yourself where you can live in time, early off of your passive revenue with dividend investing, now I'm most likely to try my ideal to outline the entire picture of exactly how you can make this possible as well as be economically independent. So first, we need to take a few steps back and also respond to the inquiry that I get at all times, which is what is dividend investing? Dividend spending means that you're getting supplies that pay returns to ensure that you can obtain a regular income stream from those stocks. As well as the easiest method to consider this is when you buy a stock, a share of a company. You now have a little item of that company, as well as if that firm pays dividends to investors, that means that they're taking several of their profits and paying you a percentage. We're most likely to take Exxon as an instance. They've been paying out returns for over 100 years, so I claim that's a pretty good performance history, right? As well as straight from their site, they specify that over the previous 38 years, their dividend repayments to investors have expanded at an average. In detail, however, basically as opposed to simply one company, you're getting a basket full of little items of various companies, which means you have more diversity. Even if one company, that basket, does truly poorly and also possibly they choose to cut their returns, and even worse, they remove it completely, then you have numerous various other business that basket that are with any luck lifting everybody else up. An example is this lead high dividend return ETF, which offers you exposure to many different dividend paying companies, including these leading 10. This could be a wonderful means to enter dividend spending if you don't want to have to do all of this research. and instead simply intend to buy this basket of dividend-paying firms, or if you wish to, you can essentially create your very own high returns yield basket by independently investing in dividend-paying firms that you count on and also doing the study on them and listening in on these earnings reports, which sounds like a lot of work. So you can determine what design works better for you. However, in any case, what you need to keep in mind is that if you're placing every one of your cash right into one firm, that puts you at risk, as well as I'm most likely to provide you a prime example. Let's claim a few years back, I had put all of my cash into Boeing and also was living off those wonderful reward checks.